When I was in art school, I had this idea of what it meant to be an artist. You know, I had this idea that to be an artist when you finish art school, to be a successful artist, you had to have a gallery and you had to be having shows and you had to be like mysterious. Stay soft-hearted, stay passionate. It takes humility to create and yet more to destroy. Stay vulnerable and tender. Reinvent yourself or be cut down like a bitter and dead tree. Stay curious and passionate. Try and fail. Try and fail. Be okay failing. I feel like this spray paint isn't toxic. I can't even smell it. Meanwhile, I'm probably getting very high. Another morning, another day working on my book. I told you guys in the last video that I'm scanning everything in, but I'm trying to make some like backdrops for the different pages that don't have illustrations on them. I just think it would be cool to have like some spray painted background. And yesterday I made this collage of my sister. It's like me hyping her up when we were 13. I don't know, just having a lot of fun. I did some collaging today for my book. I'm listening to some music and cleaning up, and then I'm gonna go to bed. It's been a really great start to the week. I feel in a really nice energy lately. I was talking about in my last video wanting to really focus on my perspective, and instead of being so goal-oriented, being more feeling-oriented, just sending love and good vibes. And I feel like that is something that has been making me feel really good day to day. For example, I've started this new book project and I really don't care how long it takes me. I'm just like waking up every day and working on my collages and working on just the process of it. And I think that I've talked about this in other videos, but so often in life we can become so obsessed with the final result. The most success I've ever had in my life has always been from when I wasn't looking for it. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was just having fun and amusing myself. If you are feeling stuck in any way, if you're feeling low energy, hopeless, helpless, remember that you don't have to let your outer circumstances define how you feel inside. You can be the type of person that lets your inner world define your outer world, you know? Here, let me come closer. I saw the most amazing piece of theater the other day called Spleen d'Ange, and it was about this angel that wanted so desperately to become a human, and he was trying to like kill his angel self in different ways in order to become a human. And I thought it was really interesting because they were using the angel as a way to explore human experience. For example, there was a moment when the actor finally made it to Earth, and when he was here, he asked someone to like come on stage and like hug him. And this girl came on stage and like hugged him, and then he was asking the audience, he was like, do you guys feel things when you hug people? Like, do you feel things when, is that how it's supposed, should you feel things? And he was sad, the angel, because he could never feel as humans do. And I was thinking about that and how beautiful it is in life that we get the opportunity to connect and even just live, and how fragile life is. And so that's why I'm so into like romanticizing my life and having like these things that I can touch that don't have to become anything, because the human experience is already enough. Like the experience of getting to do these things is already enough. I know a lot of you guys watching this are younger, maybe like in your 20s or mid-20s, or even like your late teens, trying to figure out life. And I think one of the shitty things about being in those early years of adulthood is there's so much pressure to succeed and prove yourself. You know what I mean? Like I meet so many people who feel frustrated because they want to do certain projects, or they know they have so much potential and they want to prove themselves in some way. But the only thing that you need to worry about is just having fun doing what you love to do and sharing it with the world. I think a lot of times people make the mistake on social media of posting for their friends when in reality, like if you're a creative, what you're really trying to do, or what you should be trying to do, is trying to create for the community that is looking to connect with the type of work that you make. And I think oftentimes in life, people that you meet in real life are very like situational. For example, it could be the friends you went to high school with. To see them, for example, when you post something, see it, I think can be very detrimental to your process. So I just want you guys to remember that you're here to share and connect through your art and your soul. And yeah, a butterfly cannot fly when it's cold. You know, like you need to find that warmth within yourself. What is an experience that makes you feel grateful to be a human, to be alive, you know? It could be anything. It could be like painting. It could be going to have a simple coffee with friends, like these small pleasures. That is the beauty of life. I'm just really grateful to be in a place where I'm treating myself as a really good friend, you know? And I think that's really important, to always be a friend to yourself, be kind to yourself. Like you're gonna be with you your whole life, you know? You're gonna be with you your whole life. And remember, life isn't happening somewhere far away. Life is happening wherever you are. You're never missing out on anything because you bring the good energy. You are the fucking party. You know what I mean? So don't forget that.
You know, when it starts raining a little bit and then suddenly it just starts pouring and you're like, I'm just gonna embrace it because it's just one of those nights, you know what I'm saying? The road is clear ahead.
Bitch, it's been a long time since I've been out at this time of night. I told you not to call me anymore. I told you not to call me anymore. But you called. And once you called, I can't not wake up. That's why I picked up. Pick me up if you're alive. Come pick me up if you're alive.
This year has gone by so quickly. I always feel like the last few months of the year go by really quickly because I usually go home for Christmas. When I say home, I mean like home to my family's house in the US. I spent one Christmas here and it was the fucking worst. It was like not horrible, but it also was kind of depressing. So I haven't done that since, and I also feel like, yeah, I just really like going home for Christmas because my family are quite festive. Like my mom loves to bake cookies, and I have my niece, and my dad likes to have these parties and stuff. So I like to go home for Christmas. But yeah, I have a song coming out before the end of the year, which is gonna be cool. And then next year, I'm basically gonna be releasing singles from my album until I release the full album. It's like halfway done, which is exciting, but also I've literally been working on this album for almost 2 years. And it's crazy because when you start the album, by the time you get to like the last song, you could have evolved. For example, I got my drum machine. I think it's gonna be very, very interesting in the sense of like there's some sort of like punk rock guitar songs, but then also some experimental synthesizer songs. Yeah, that's kind of crazy to me. This is kind of like a niche thing for people who do music, but you know, for example, I can post an Instagram reel with me just like lip syncing to a song, and that could get like 500,000 views, but then you put something on Spotify and it doesn't necessarily get the same stream. So then recently I've been thinking a lot about like, does the platform matter? Like, does it actually, if people are, I just want people to hear the music, so whether that's like me posting it on Instagram or me posting it on Spotify, like, does that really matter in the end? And I think it's the same around our art. For example, as artists, a lot of time we kind of can be a little bit snobby. I don't know. I don't mean like me and you, but I mean like as a collective around like the form that something takes. For example, I really like putting my paintings on journals because that way everyone can sort of afford to have one of my paintings, and an original painting costs quite expensive because there's only one of them. And I know some people are kind of snobby about that, like, oh, I would never sell prints, or but at the same time it's like, isn't the goal for people to enjoy your art? And that's why I also feel around like making music as well. Like my goal is for people to enjoy what I'm doing, and so I don't really see myself as like wanting to be like a musician or an artist, but I just want to be an icon. And that sounds so maybe like cringy in a way, but I mean like an icon for myself. Like I want to be my own muse. I want to be just like someone that doesn't limit themselves, and to me that's iconic. So that's kind of always been the goal, is like no matter what I do, it's this energy of creativity and fun, and not like, oh, I hope it does well on this platform, or you know, I think that we can get our egos really attached to, for example, this is just like a tangent. For example, when I was in art school, I had this idea of what it meant to be an artist. You know, I had this idea that to be an artist, when you finish art school, to be a successful artist, you had to have a gallery and you had to be having shows, and you had to be like mysterious. And then once I sort of, I guess, like fell into YouTube in a sense, I was like, you can actually like do it your own way. Like you can, I think the most important thing is freedom, you know what I mean? And for example, that's why I don't like have big goals around like wanting certain people in the industry to appreciate me, because I don't really like systems where there is someone that decides what is cool and what's not. For example, my song Fuck the Art World is all about that. Like I don't really like that there is this person that decides what's cool, because I think my opinion is not above theirs, but like is more important than theirs to me. And then actually I think the accolades come just sort of organically because people see that you're not adhering to their systems. Like every opportunity I've gotten, or anytime someone wanted to do an interview, it wasn't because I was like looking for it. It was like, they're like, oh, she's built her own thing, and that's cool. And so I just want to encourage you guys as well. You know, if you're artists, I get this question all the time. It's like, how to make it as an artist. And for me, the most important thing is to focus on freedom for yourself. Like, what does that mean to you? And that could mean working like part-time in a cafe so you could finance your art, or that could mean, you know, a lot of people have this idea that if you're not doing it full-time, then you're not a real artist, you know what I mean? But I think that's bullshit. I think that as long as you're creating time for yourself to create whatever you have to do that. For example, YouTube is an example. I make most of my revenue from my YouTube sponsors, but also like the books that I put out. But would anyone be buying that had I not created a community that cares about what I'm doing? No. I know so many people who are making cool work, but I think that the story and, you know, the actual personal connection is really important. I used to think that we can separate the art from the artist, but the older that I get, the more I realize like your personal story is what sets your art apart, you know what I mean? Like, and sure, people can scroll on Instagram and think it's like aesthetically pleasing, or they might like your art, but I think like in some way, shape, or form, you have to interject your own personal experience into that. Whether that's like a caption talking about the work, or yeah, like how you wrote a song or why you wrote this album. For example, my EP was right after my divorce. If you're near here, yeah, married and divorced before I turned 30. So yeah, like when I made my first EP, that was sort of the story behind that, was the tower that fell and sort of having to find a new medium to express myself. So yeah, I think that that's why the EP resonated with people, is they like knew my personal story as well. And I think that any time storytelling is attached to the art, like you don't actually buy a piece of art, you buy the feeling of it, you buy the story of it, you know? My mom actually just started making art again, and she's kind of like new to it, and she had her first art show, and I was telling her, like, if people come up to you, like, create like a story around it, create like the lore. It's important, you know? And yeah, this is a rant because I'm just thinking a lot about the way that I am putting my work out into the world. For example, with the book that I'm working on, like, how cool is it that I'm like documenting the process, because when it is finally ready to come out, you guys would have seen me like building it over time. And I think that that makes the object more meaningful, you know? Even like the images I'm using in the book are like my own personal photos, and I'm writing the poems by hand and scanning them. Like, there's a very personal feeling to it, and I think that that's a really important thing that we don't talk about in art school, is the storytelling and the importance of giving meaning to something. And it's the same around relationships as well. Like, friendships, relationships, events in your life only hold the importance that you give to them. They only hold the meaning that you give to them. For example, like a relationship, if you have a lot of memories with that person, or if you thought that this person was really important to you for some reason, they're harder to get over because you've attached a meaning to it. People with sentimental objects, for example, this could just be a flower, or this could be a flower that someone gave me on a special night, and it reminds me of that. And so it's the meaning that we give things that make it special, you know? And I think that's really important when it comes to our art and our art practice. And I think that's something that I didn't really understand when I first started making art, Like when I was making my sculptures, like surely I got a lot of traction for them because they were very colorful and the texture looked like cake. But I honestly had not a lot of meaning attached to them. Like, and that's why I'm kind of less interested in that medium, at least for now, because a lot of times I was just making stuff to make stuff. And I used to always hate like when my professors would be like, okay, but like, why did you do this? What's the concept? Because truly, I didn't have one. I was just like, I liked the act of making something, and then I would make some bullshit up later. And I think that's why it's easy for me to transition into other mediums now, because they're much more meaningful to me. For example, when I put out my EP, when I realized how great it felt to create something with an actual intention, then I was like, well, why am I going to just like sit in my studio and play with this material when I don't have a real connection to it? I think the connection that I had with it was that it was fun for me to do. But now, like, I think getting older is realizing that like I want to connect to people through my art in a deeper way and in a more mature way. So yeah. Whoa. I always have these like deep thoughts before bed, like randomly. But yeah, I'm glad to share that with you guys, because it's funny, sometimes I will look back at my old videos, and I was talking about this with someone the other day, like sometimes I just don't even recognize myself in a way, like even my voice is different. And that's why I think it's beautiful to document your life and where you're at a certain time, because like it's one thing to journal, but actually having filmed that, like surely things are cringy to me, but I'm also like, wow, like the growth, you know what I mean? And I think it's totally okay to pivot in your life. It's okay to move away from a place. It's okay to start a new project. And I think that that's the beauty of not having attachment to things. You know, for example, when I left my old art studio, I talked about this in another video, but it was really important to me to have made that step to separate myself from the studio space and to just be on my own for a while. Because for the first time I was like, this cannot be your identity. You need to create a new identity away from the things that you make that might have been successful in the past in order to move forward, you know? And I think when we're detached from things, we're so free, and there's nothing more beautiful than being free in this life. There's this expression that I love as well, in line with that, that is kill your darlings. And they talk about this a lot in writing, that, you know, you're always really attached to the things you write because in your perspective it's all important, but it's really essential to be able to kill the things that you love in your art in order to make it better as a whole, you know what I mean? And that's, I think, true around music as well. When you are making music, a lot of times you might like something, but then it could also be bad for the project. Do you know what I mean? And actually, when you detach, this is something I learned as well, making music. A lot of times I have songs that have been finished for a long time, but I kind of wanted to wait a little bit because I wanted to have a certain level of detachment from them, so that when I put them out, I don't feel a certain way. Like too attached or less attached. Like I just want to feel neutral about them, and like this is what I made at a certain time, and I'm able to do that because at this point I'm already working on a bunch of new stuff, so like that's old stuff to me. And I think that to be a successful artist, you have to be able to, like I said, reinvent yourself all the time, and the only way you can reinvent yourself is being able to kill the past. Like the past is dead, you know what I mean? And I think it's important to keep evolving and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, you know? For example, recently I have a new bassist now, and it was kind of hard for me at first to like detach myself from the show that I had before that I built with my old bassist. But also like I want to keep growing and making new stuff, and in order to do that, I have to be open to new collaborations, you know, like life is a constant change, you know what I mean? I think that's a big part of being a creative and being an artist. The constant is me and not the things that I make in a certain time or the people I work with in a certain time. If you rely too much on working with a certain person, if you rely too much on a certain medium, there's always going to be things changing, you know? But if you say that it's my perspective and my eyes that are the important thing, then you're never going to lose that thing. And that is a concept that is true around even just like your perspective in life in general, I think, you know, like tomorrow, what if, like, I don't know, like jinx it, but knock on wood, bitch, but what if there was like a house fire and I lost everything? Would I just be, I mean, it would be a shitty situation, but like, would my life be over then? No. And it's the same around your art. Like when things evolve and things change, you have to change with them. And I think that that's a really big part of being an artist, is being able to adapt, you know, adaptability and reinvention. Okay, on that note, I'm gonna end the video here. My God, me and my long ass rants. I'm always just like editing for hours my rants, but I also think that when you have something to say, you should share it. So anyway, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.